Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review. This is a horror film from France. French language English subs, released in the year 2012, directed by David Chaloa, and this movie is called Dead Shadows. And the story to Dead Shadows is as follows. Dead Shadows tells the terrifying story about a young man, Chris, whose parents were brutally killed 11 years ago, on the same day that the Halley's Comet could be seen from Earth. Tonight, a new comet is going to appear, and everyone is in his building are getting ready for a party to celebrate this event. There's even an apocalypse theory going around. As night falls, Chris starts to discover that people are acting strange, and it seems to somehow be connected to the comet. People are becoming disorientated and violent, and it doesn't take long before they start mutating into something from beyond this world. In a fight for survival, Chris has to try to escape from his building with the help from some other tenants. But will they make it out alive? So the movie takes place in Paris. Now, the main character of Chris, he's a very troubled individual because 11 years ago, when Halley's Comet passed Earth, his parents were brutally killed. So this has since long affected him, and these problems that I'm not going to go into are resurfaced because there's another comet that's coming past the Earth. So he starts to get flashbacks of what happened, and you start to get a little bit of an insight into what his problems are related to that night. And so he doesn't want to really celebrate this. He just wants to go to sleep and get it over with. But this mysterious woman who lives next door wants a date to this party, and so she doesn't have a date because she's just kicked out her boyfriend, and so she wants Chris to accompany her to this party. So Chris likes her, and he reluctantly accepts this offer. As I said, his problems force him to want to be a recluse, but this girl he likes, so he wants to do what she wants. So they go to the party, and this is where Chris realizes that there's something very strange. The people are very disorientated, and they're starting to act a little bit violent. Now, this may have something to do with the comet, so they may be connected. So I'm not going to tell you what happens at that point on and what's in store for Chris. All I'm going to say is that his night goes from bad to worse very, very quickly. So I'm going to give him the synopsis. If you want to know more, please go out there and check this film out for yourself. Now, my thoughts on the film. I was really, really excited when I heard that this one was coming out. Now, the reason being is that French horror is the leader in the world as far as the horror genre is concerned. And, Martyrs, Inside, Frontiers, High Tension, all those movies, fantastic films, and it really revived the genre for me. But lately, the horror films coming out of France have been very few and far between. So it's a bit really, really disappointing sort of thing that France have kind of dropped off their game. So when I saw that this one was coming out, I was really hoping that this one would live up to the reputation of French horror and it'd be worth the wait. So was it worth the wait? That is the main question I'm sure that you're all asking, and unfortunately it wasn't really worth the wait. Now, I'm not going to completely slag the film off because the movie does have a lot of positivity in it, but the positivity is never really realized. Kind of feels like every positive in the movie is counteracted by a negative. And that's the ultimate downfall of the film. It feels like the director, apparently it's his first film, I could be wrong, I apologise if I'm wrong, but it's his first film, so it feels like he's kind of just running through the motions and he's trying out things, and hopefully he will build on it in his next project. So what I liked about it, it's a low budget movie, but it actually looks really good, and straight away you get a character who is very mysterious. And this is where the first problem lies. Now, the character is very mysterious, but the questions that are asked in a very positive way. I mean, the start of the movie is very mysterious. You've got a very polished sort of piece. For a low-budget movie, this actually looks above its budget. And so you've got the character of Chris, very, very mysterious because of what happened 11 years ago. The event that happened that resulted in his parents dying is never really touched upon in full detail, but it's left enough for you to really want to know what's going on. So he kind of throws out the line and he grabs your attention, and you're kind of just waiting and hoping that these questions will be answered. But unfortunately, there is not enough depth to the film and to the characters and to the backstory that really leaves a rewarding taste in your mouth. At the end of the film, you're left with a bitter sort of sour taste because you feel that there is a lot to offer, but it was never really gone into enough, and it really should have been a hell of a lot better than it actually was. So the acting was good. I mean, a few other people said the acting was pretty ordinary, but I really like the main character of Chris, and I like the mysterious quality. But as I said, you don't really know too much about him. And for the first half of the film, that really works because that's what keeps you that keeps you watching. You want to know what is behind this these psychological issues. You want to know what happened to his parents. And it's never really gone into. And that, as I said, is the biggest downfall of it, because it just leaves questions unanswered. And it feels like an incomplete film. So I felt that whether it was budget constraints or a lack of confidence, I don't know. But it just felt like at the end of it, I wanted to know a lot more. And I was really, really disappointed. Now, it goes for 67 minutes. Actually, 76 minutes, but that's including the credits. So if I remember correctly, on my DVD player, it actually said 67 minutes. So it's a very, very short film. And so the positive of that is the fact that it will get straight to the point very quickly, so there is no time wasted. But unfortunately, it's one of those films that needed an extra 20 minutes of it for the character building and also the backstory, because it is a movie, as I said, the pacing is very good, but it kind of gets counteracted by the fact that it needed more depth. So that was, as I said, really disappointing. And the first half of the film, there's a level of uncertainty. There's a level of, you don't know what the comet's doing. You don't know whether it's going to hit Earth, but you know that something bad is just around the corner. The anticipation builds up really well. And I actually thought to myself, I'm going to be surprised here, because I wasn't expecting this. And so the build-up, you've got just the atmosphere. You've got people starting to act really strange. So you kind of feel like it's, the end of the world is coming. But then when it comes time for the movie to flex its muscle, it just falls rapidly downhill and it takes a complete nosedive. Now, the violence was there, but it really wasn't that graphic. So you're going to be misled by the R18 classification, because I thought it was obvious that maybe they didn't have the budget for gore. And a lot of it was off screen, so if you're expecting a typical gore fest from France, you're going to be disappointed. However, if you're expecting a creature feature, then you could be pleasantly surprised, because the CGI was a little bit dodgy in areas, but in other areas it looked really cool. The mutants looked really awesome, and I thought the way that they were mutating was disgusting. And so I really liked that part, because the disgusting sort of element to the film gave what was happening that much more of a scary impact. So I really liked that. But as I said, some of the other special effects were really ordinary, and it looked really cheap, and it really took me out of it. Now, the sound effects also very, very bad in areas, and it was passable in others. So it really feels like a film that was good in patches, but it never really succeeds as an overall piece. The ending, I thought it does answer a certain question, but it's, as I said, nothing is ever put into cement. And I know that sometimes it's good to leave things up to your own interpretation, but it doesn't really do that. It doesn't feel like a movie that's allowing you to make up your own mind. It feels like a movie that, as I said, was incomplete. And I don't know whether or not the director really had the confidence to kind of draw it all together, or if it was budget constraints. I'm leaning towards budget constraints, which was very unfortunate, because the movie had grounds to be a really good film, and a little bit more than just a creature feature sort of science fiction film, because some of these movies, like The Mist in particular, The Mist was a creature feature sort of monster film, but at the same time it doubled as a film about faith. So it had an underlying message, whereas this movie really had the opportunity to be also a film about aliens, a film about creatures, and also maybe a film about the psychological damage that such a traumatic event can, lead to, as far as Chris's character is concerned. But it's never really touched upon, and it feels like the director has just skimmed across the surface, and he really hasn't had as much depth. He's more concerned about making the movie fun, which does work in certain areas, but as I said, that the overwhelming sense that there is something very sour about the film is always present. So that really took it out for me. But there is, there are some things to like about it, and I'm sure that David Chellowa is going to get a lot better, and hopefully he can get a bigger budget. So the movie is not the worst film I've ever seen, but as far as French horror is concerned, this one was below average. So overall, I'm going to give it 2 stars. 2 stars might be a little bit generous. I'm leaning towards 1.5 and 2, but I'm going to give it 2 because I actually felt that the cinematography was well done, some of the CGI very good, and the overall anticipation of something really bad is going to happen in the first half was good. But then the second half, it really lets it down with some pretty mediocre sort of special effects, and it's just the overwhelming sense, as I said, that it feels like an incomplete film. So for the French horror film Dead Shadows, this is getting 2 stars. Was it worth the wait? Probably not, but hopefully David Chellowa will get better in the future. Alright guys, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.